Warning: no dad was harmed in the making of this podcast.
Hey, welcome back to Dad Space. It's Dave with you again. Hey, it's so great to be with you here on the show. Talk all things dad. It's a space for dads. You're a dad, I'm a dad. So great to have you here. Now, I want to let you know that Dad Space is now certified organic. Yeah. And human generated. What? Yeah, like I'm not an AI bot. No. I've got too many downsides to me. Too many mistakes to be AI. This is all, I call it DI, Dave Intelligence, here on Dad Space. Now, with Dave Intelligence, there's a limit though, just so you know. I just gotta tell you, I don't have the globe and every known word to man and the humankind in my brain, because that would make my head explode. So I'm not AI, I'm DI, I'm Dave Intelligence, and I'm happy to be here. This podcast is 100% human, by the way. So there's other shows that are all done by computers for computers, but this is a podcast for dads by dads. Welcome to Dad Space. Here we go. You can tell I'm a little punchy today, but that's okay. Welcome to the show. We're talking about navigating the teen years as a dad. If your kids are little, you might thinking, I'm going to skip this. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe you should hang around, because even though your kids are little, they're just tiny. This is going to come into play sometime, and the sooner you know this stuff, the better. So if you ask any dad who's lived through teen years, they wish they knew this stuff way before their kids turned into a teenager. Put the teen on the end of the number. Changes a lot of stuff, so you might want to stick around, and you might want to recommend this episode to anybody who's got kids in this age group. It's Navigating the Teen Years, Connecting Over Control, as a guide for carrying dads here on Dad Space. Let's go. I don't know what your teenage years were like growing up, where you lived, where you went to school, all of that stuff. I have no idea what your background is. Mine, I grew up in a pretty normal environment, I would say. Nothing too loud, nothing too quiet, just kind of, the same suburban type thing, living in the suburbs, and had a yard and friends and playtime outside. And then you move into being a teenager and everything changes. And now it's about school and cars and, for me, girls who didn't know I exist. But it was this whole awkwardness of growing up and trying to find your place. I want to remind dads that having your first teenager on their 13th birthday blow out those candles, you've never done this before. You've been a 13-year-old. You've never been the parent of a 13-year-old. And it's going to ask a lot of you that you're going to have to learn in a very short amount of time. So this isn't an exhaustive episode that's going to cover everything, and one episode is going to fix everything. Not at all. That would make this show very short. I'm just going to pose some things to you, some things that I'm learning, have learned, and in talking to dads like you, we have this conversation about how we can show up better for our kids. That our kids need more than guardrails. They need a connected dad as they go into this time. There's so much going on in the life of somebody in school now as teenagers than we ever had. It's common, and your kids are going to have the same thing become evident to them, that their kids years from now are going to be in a totally different place than your kids have been. So it's just this cycle, right? It repeats. It's always on repeat. I think that the teenage years, they can feel like a shift in relationship between fathers and their kids. I think there's a push and a pull happening here, where the child who once naturally leaned into your guidance now begins to pull away from you. And that's natural, it's expected, but it really hurts. It's very weird. Your kids are seeking independence, they're seeking identity, and they need a space to make their own decisions, as terrible as they might be in the moment, they need the space to figure it out for themselves. And for many dads, I think this transition can really feel like a loss of influence or connection or relevance, where you're not needed the way you were needed before. In reality, though, it's more of an invitation to evolve the relationship with them rather than tighten your control over them. And what I want to focus on in this episode is building on other early reflections around thoughts of your kid turning 18. And it goes deeper into how dads can remain emotionally close and meaningfully present during these really interesting years, 13 to 19, right? Anything that ends in teen. I don't want it to be us as dads to be overbearing or disconnected. I want us to find the right gear for our relationship with our kids. And I think at the heart of the stage for us as dad, it's critical that we shift our minds, move from being the dad who's in control to being the dad who's in control of connection. Control often shows up as correction or instruction or disapproval or protection, but sometimes it's taken too far. While these instincts come from care, like we're demonstrating care for our kids, they can unintentionally actually shut down the communication we have with our kids, where teenagers are especially sensitive to feeling micromanaged, dismissed, ignored. And I think our connection, on the other hand, prioritizes trust and listening and emotional availability. That feeling that your kids feel more comfortable talking to their friends than they do to you, that's a bitter pill to swallow, because you kids have been your whole life and you have been their whole life. But that 13th birthday, something changes. There's a switch happens. And I remember getting up on the morning of my kid's 13th birthday to celebrate their day and thinking, something's going to change here. And you grieve, as a dad, the snuggles and the love and the playtime, and the world doesn't seem to have such a grip on them when they're younger. But when they turn 13, you're like, here we go. There's the terrible twos, and then there's the threatening teenagers, right? It's a very different time. And as you're raising your kids, and they might be like 2 years old, 1 year old, they might be 10. But that 13th birthday is not too far down the road. So building into your kids today, even if they're little, so that they feel trusted and safe with you. Every time you can create a safe space for your kids, and that bond is deepened and strengthened and reinforced, it's going to pay off when they turn 13. So don't wait till the night of the 13th birthday, the next day, to start this process. Start it now, no matter how old they are. It's really important for you to do that. Think if we could put it into words that you could say to your son or daughter. It's you communicating to them, I'm here with you. I'm not here above you. I'm here with you. I'm not here above you. That's how we need to approach this from that context. That's hard to say out loud to your kids, by the way, because you've been above them the second they were born for their entire life. And now they're on the doorstep of another new adventure in your home. Here we go. I think one of the most effective ways that dads can maintain connection is through intentional listening. This is not the kind of listening that waits for a chance to respond, but the kind that seeks to understand. I think teenagers won't often open up when they feel judged or rushed. We're creating space where they can speak without immediate correction, and I think that over time builds psychological safety for them. They feel like there's an open door. Sometimes it just means sitting there in silence, resisting the urge to fix or jump in and correct or take it on your own to make something happen that's causing your kids grief in the moment. We need to balance guidance with independence. It's another core challenge for us as dads. If your kids do nothing because dad always fixes it for them, I don't know what kind of lessons you're teaching them there. I think sometimes dads are just afraid of being replaced. So we do everything to stay relevant in our kids' lives, including save them from all of the things that can possibly go wrong. And our kids never experience loss. They never experience failure. They never experience consequence. Because dad's always there. He always saves the day. And they never need to deal with the consequences of their actions. We need to allow our kids to experience natural consequences while remaining a strict, steady support for them in the background. It helps them to develop their resilience and their decision-making skills. If you make all the decisions for your kids, they'll never know how to do it for themselves. And then what happens when you're not here anymore? What do? They don't know what to do because you're the one who's been doing it all for them. They need a sense of healthy independence. And that's built through trust, not sudden freedom. That's where it falls apart. That's exactly where it falls apart. When suddenly they feel like they are uninhibited and they can just do whatever they want, that's where you run into problems. Open communication is not just talking more, it's about talking differently. Try this. Instead of leading with questions, maybe, and it feels like an interrogation, like you're cops and you got your kids locked in a room and you're grilling them, saying things like, "What did you do today?" That doesn't sound very open, does it? Why did you make that choice? Shifting it more towards being curious instead, and changing your tone can really help. Questions like, "What was the best part of your day?" instead of, "What did you do today?" Or, "What's something that's been on your mind lately?" is better communication doors that are open than maybe some of the tone that you've been doing by default, because you haven't really put any thought into it. It's just your go-to things. Try to invite them to be more reflective and less defensive in how you formulate your questions with your kids when you have time with them, especially when they turn into teenagers. The goal is to not extract information from them like some kind of spy. We're here to encourage sharing and build a relationship with this human that we made, this human that's in our life. Equally important here too, I think, is the presence. We talk about this often on the show. The presence that a dad brings into the relationship. When your kids turn into teenagers, they may not always express it, but they are highly aware of consistency. You showing up, even in a small ways, builds trust over time. This can look like being available during car rides, showing up at sporting events, those class things that they do, or presentations, or music recitals, whatever it is. Whatever they're into, the dance thing, right? You being there, showing up for cheer, and you have no idea what cheer is, but you're there, right? You being in the room, you being in the stands, you being in the building. You can see when you watch the video on TikTok of kids recognizing their family in the crowd, and their countenance changes from disengaged and shy to bubbly and excited. I love that. I love watching those videos. You being there has a direct impact on your kids. It helps them to be more emotionally steady when conversations become difficult, because they know that they have somebody in their corner. Presence is often more powerful than advice as a dad. So talk less, be there more would be my suggestion for you as a dad. I think ultimately this stage of being a parent of teenagers is not about holding on tighter and afraid of losing them. It's about staying close while letting them go. It's really hard to do Really, really hard to do. I've had to do it 3 times. Dads who embrace this shift, I think, over time, find that their influence doesn't disappear completely. It might change, it might not be needed as much, that influence, but it deepens in a different form through the teenage years, if you do it right. Respect replaces compliance. Kids do things in response to you because they respect you, not because they are obligated to do so. And connection becomes the foundation of a long-term relationship. There's a big shift happens when your kids grow older. Mine are all in their mid to late 20s. It's a totally different world for me. I think the key takeaway here is simple but powerful in your relationship with your kids. Your relationship with them is, in the teenage years, is built not on control, but on connection. And that can hold a space for independence for them, safety for them, to try out this new world on their own. But they know they have you with them. When your kids feel understood rather than managed, supervised, when they don't feel like they're under your thumb at all times, they're far more likely to stay engaged with you, deepen their relationship with you, but at the same time find their own independence. It's the weirdest part of being a parent, is when your kids are looking for the exit and you're trying to block every exit possible because you want to keep this thing you've had for 12 years. You've loved every minute of this. So many great memories. But you know that things are going to change on that 13th birthday. Put the word teen in the number. You've got some interesting days ahead of you. If you ever want to talk to a dad who's done it 3 times, at least I have that as reference. I'd love to speak to you anytime through dadspace.ca, through email, through voicemail, a Zoom, coffee, together, whatever you got. I'll meet you anytime. Love to have time with anybody who listens to the show. I appreciate your support for Dad Space. I'd also love for you to share this with another dad that you know who has no idea what Dad Space is. Let's make a space, another space for the another dad. And your support in sharing the show is really going to help to make that happen. So I appreciate you. I thank you for being here this long and being with me on this journey of dads. Dad Space, it's a podcast for dads by dads. I do appreciate you being here. Take care. Hey, dads, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Thank you for following the show. I'd encourage you to do just so if you haven't done so already. Look at your phone. There's like a little follow button or subscribe, or I don't know what it says on your screen, but there's like a little button at the top of the screen. If you click that button, that means every time a new episode of Dad Space shows up, it goes right to your phone. It's waiting for you whenever you're ready. So you don't have to try to remember, what's the name of that show? Space Dad? No, Dad Space. It'll show up right there for you if you follow the show. That'd be great. If you listen on Spotify, like I do, I'm a Spotify user. You can actually leave a comment in every episode, and I will respond as your faithful host to any comments you leave in the episodes. So please jump in. Love to read your comments, your thoughts about the episode. That'd be fun. And if ever you just want to just hang out with another dad, you got a few moments on your time in your day, in your week, and you're like, I'd just like to grab a virtual coffee with Dave. You can always buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, but you could also just join me for a virtual coffee and we could just chat about dad stuff. I'm always looking forward to meet the people who listen to the show. That brings me a lot of joy. So dadspace.ca, all the information in the show notes. And thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing this podcast with one other dad. I really appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Take care.